Suppose if we consider a straight conductor and if we pass the current through the straight conductor in any one of the direction, either upwards or downwards, then due to the small portion of the conductor, due to very small portion of the conductor, what will be the magnetic field either at this point or at this point or at this point or at this point elsewhere around the conductor, due to the small portion of the conductor, what will be the magnetic field? That can be determined by making use of a law known as Biot and Savart law or Biot-Savart's law. This can also be considered in this form, Biot-Savart's law. Sometimes it's also known as Laplace law. Initially, very first, this law was given by Laplace, but later Biot and Savart explained this in detail and they proved this law. So that is why it is known as Biot-Savart's law or Laplace law. And this Biot-Savart's law is analogous to Coulomb's law in electrostatics. Coulomb's law related to electric charges, whereas Biot and Savart law related to the magnetic field and as well as its strength. Now what is the statement of this law? Let us consider now a conductor. I consider a conductor of this shape. Okay, let XY be the conductor and I consider small portion of the conductor. This is the small portion of the conductor whose length is dl. Now if I pass the current through this conductor either from x to y or from y to x, then this portion of the conductor, small portion of the conductor through which some current is flowing is known as current element. Now I represent this by vector dl known as current element. Without arrow, I can consider this as magnitude of only this portion. With arrow means it represents the vector form of this length. Now, according to this law, if I want to find the magnetic field at any one of the point all around the conductor, suppose if this is the conductor, then all around the conductor only due to small portion, okay, only due to small portion, either this portion or this portion or this portion, what will be the magnetic field? Now I choose a point, say for example let P be a point, then let the position vector of this point from the midpoint of this current element be R, vector R. Then what is the distance of the point P from the midpoint of this element? Its distance is nothing but R. Look here, R gives the magnitude of this length, whereas this represents the position vector of the point P. At the point P, we need to find the magnetic field only due to this portion, because Biot and Savart law is applicable only to small portion of the conductor, not for lengthy conductor, only for small portion. Now what will be the magnetic field at the point P according to the Biot and Savart law? In order to write the statement of this law, first let us explain now little bit. Suppose if I want to find the magnetic field here, then what I do means I consider now dB as the magnetic field. Why should I consider dB? dB represents small amount of magnetic field, because we are finding the magnetic field due to only small portion of the conductor. We are not finding the magnetic field at the point P due to the entire length xy. We are finding only due to this portion, only due to this length of the conductor xy. Now xy represents the conductor, R represents the position vector of the point P at which magnetic field dB is required. Then What is dl? dl is the length of the element. Length of the element dl, vector dl. Then I is the current flowing through the conductor. It is flowing from y to x. Y to x. Okay, now according to this law, what is the magnetic field at the point P? According to the law, now magnitude of the magnetic field at P, magnitude of the magnetic field at P is dB. It is found to be directly proportional to length of the element. What is the length of the element? dl. And the same magnetic field at P is directly proportional to current flowing through it. Directly proportional, once again, magnetic field at the point P directly proportional to sine of the angle, that means sine theta. What is theta? Theta is the angle between the position vector. What is the position vector? R, and vector dl. Or theta is the angle between the length of the element and the line joining the point P. So let us write about theta here. So theta is the angle between the line joining the point P and the element. Okay, element means this one. Then the magnetic field at P is found to be inversely proportional to square of the distance of the point P from the element. From this element, the point P is at a distance r. So it is inversely proportional to square of the distance. Now what does it mean? Suppose if the length of the element increases, then magnetic field at P also increases because it is directly proportional. Similarly, if the current through this element increases, that means if the current strength is large, or if the magnitude of the current is I through this conductor or through this element, then field once again increases. And directly proportional to sin theta, that means if all sin theta value becomes maximum, if entire sin theta becomes maximum, when does sin theta becomes maximum here? When theta becomes equal to 90 degree, then sin 90 will be equal to 1. In such a case, what happens? Magnetic field at the point P once again increases if this value turns out to be of maximum value. Then magnetic field at P inversely proportional to square of the distance. What does it mean? As we move away, that means from the element, from the current element, if we move away, then R increases. If R increases, then magnetic field at the point P should decrease, because as R increases, definitely dB decreases, since it is inversely proportional to square of the distance. So these are nothing but the Biot and Savart law or Laplace law. Suppose if I combine all, then what do I get? So I get like this: dB directly proportional to I into dl into sin theta divided by r square. Let us bring this to mathematical form. So to bring this to mathematical form, I introduce one constant. What is that constant? Means k. K into I into dl into sin theta divided by r square. This is the constant. Okay. Now what's the value of k here? The value of k is equal to mu naught over 4 pi. Mu naught over 4 pi. Then what is mu naught over 4 pi value? Mu naught over 4 pi value is 10 to the power of minus 7. 10 to the power of minus 7. And what is this mu naught called as? Mu naught called as absolute permeability of free space. Absolute permeability of free space. So, if I substitute the value of K as equal to mu naught over 4 pi in this equation, then what do we get now? After substituting for K is equal to mu naught over 4 pi. This equation now turns out into dB equal to, for K I substitute mu naught over 4 pi I dl sin theta divided by r square. So this is nothing but the mathematical form of Biot and Savart law. So all this together, that means dB proportional to dl, proportional to I, proportional to sin theta, inversely proportional to r square, put together forms the Biot and Savart law or Laplace law. Now, so if I combine all this, then we get this equation, and if we substitute for K as equal to mu naught over 4 pi, which is equal to 10 to the power of minus 7, then finally we get this equation. Now here I can express this in vector form. How? Look here, in vector form or vectorially, I can write this equation as dB equal to, put arrow at the top of B so that it gets converted into vector, mu naught over 4 pi I. Okay, look here, I dl cross r, dl cross r divided by r cube, not r square, r cube. I have written dl cross r inside the modulus sign. If you write anything inside the modulus sign, that means we have to consider only its magnitude, not the sign. Whatever may be the sign, consider its magnitude. See, how can I write this? If I just expand this or if I simplify this, then I must get back the same value. That means in the denominator, we must get back r square. Let us see, do we get r square or not after expanding this. Let us expand this. So, I, what is the cross product of any two vector? Cross product of any two vector is nothing but product of magnitude of two vectors. That means consider the magnitude of this vector dl as only dl, magnitude of vector r is nothing but r, and sine of the angle between these two vectors. So this is the definition of cross product or vector product of two vectors. Since we have written multiple side, it represents the vector product of two vectors. Denominator, we have r cube. Now if I cancel one r, then what do I get? I get back the same equation. Look here, what is the equation now? Mu naught over 4 pi I dl sin theta divided by r square is left. So whenever we write this equation in vector form, in the denominator, don't forget to write r cube, don't write only r square. Now what is the direction of this magnetic field at the point P? Look here, at the point P, if you want to find the direction of the magnetic field, then we use right hand clasp rule. According to right hand rule, the direction of the magnetic field at P is perpendicular to the plane containing the point P and the current element. This current element is said to be on the plane like board. The point P is also said to be on the board plane. So both P and dl are said to be on the same plane like board. So therefore, the magnetic field at P should be perpendicular to the plane of the board, and whether it is inwards or outwards, that depends on the direction of the current according to the right hand rule. But according to the right hand rule, for this direction of current which is flowing in the upward direction from y to x, the direction of the magnetic field dB at the point P is perpendicular to the plane of the board directed inwards. So I can write like this. It is said to be directed inwards. So this is dB. So what is its direction? Its direction is said to be directed inwards. Therefore I represent this by cross mark. Cross mark represents the magnetic field perpendicular to any plane directed inwards. If the field is outwards, then we would have represented this magnetic field by writing dot mark inside the circle. But for this direction, the field direction will be always perpendicular to the plane. So we can represent this only by means of cross mark. See, how can I say that it is directed inwards? Suppose if you just consider the right hand rule, if you imagine this as the small portion of the conductor which is straight, so this portion is assumed to be straight. So if I apply the right hand rule, thumb rule or clasp rule, now what does the thumb finger represent? The thumb finger represents the direction of current. Current through this conductor is flowing in upward direction. Look here, it is flowing upwards. Then the fingers curling gives the direction of magnetic field. So all along the curling direction, if I just imagine one circle like this, then at the point P, if I need to find the magnetic field, then all that I need to do is draw one tangent. So if you draw one tangent at the point P to this curved path, then the tangent is found to be like this. Okay, so this tangent is said to be drawn along the curling direction. That is important. Look here, fingers are curling like this. So I marked the arrow. Arrow represents the curling direction of the fingers. So all along that direction only, if I draw the tangent is said to be directed inwards, which gives the direction of magnetic field. Now coming back to this here, what does this mu naught represents? Mu naught represents, already I have written that, absolute permeability of free space. What does it mean? Absolute permeability of free space means what? All around the conductor, what is there? Magnetic field is there. And that magnetic field is existing in free space. Free space means surrounding medium. What is the surrounding medium to this conductor? Air is the surrounding medium. Therefore, mu naught is nothing but absolute permeability of free space. It means that opposition made by the substance present around the conductor for the formation of magnetic field. See, the current flowing through the conductor produces the magnetic field all around the conductor. But all around the conductor, whatever substance is there, whatever material is there, whatever medium is there, that opposes the formation of magnetic field. So therefore we can say like this, mu naught as the resistance made by the substance around the conductor against the formation of magnetic field. Resistance or opposition. Okay. When once the magnetic field is produced around the conductor, it tries to spread out to the entire medium. That means to the entire air. Then at that moment, water opposition, the free space, that means air that is present around this conductor makes. Whatever opposition it makes, that itself is known as permeability, magnetic permeability. Because we come across one more term that is known as permittivity. You have already explained about this. This is known as absolute permittivity of free space. This is known as, so this is absolute permittivity, whereas this is nothing but absolute permeability of free space, whose value is given by mu naught over 4 pi equal to 10 to the power of minus 7. Mu naught over 4 pi 10 to the power of minus 7. What is the unit for this? The unit for this is Weber per ampere per meter. This is the unit of mu naught. Okay. Now, what is the use of finding the magnetic field only due to the small portion of the conductor? By using this equation, we can find the magnetic field at a point on the axis of a circular loop carrying current. If there is a circular loop or circular coil of wire, if this is the axis, okay, then at any point on the axis, either here or here or here, what is the magnetic field? When you pass the current through this loop in any one of the direction. So the magnetic field at this point can be determined by making use of this mathematical equation, which is obtained by making use of Biot and Savart law. So this is very useful in finding the field due to a current carrying loop or due to a current carrying conductor. Now, let us consider one circular coil of wire like this. Okay, coil means having several number of turns. If only one turn of wire is present, then we call that as a loop. Only one round or one turn is known as loop. Several number of turns or several number of rounds of wire always forms a coil. So this is how we can imagine one circular coil. But in our today's explanation, I consider one loop of wire, that means only one round of wire. Then on the axis of that loop at the point P, what is the magnetic field? Let us derive the expression for the strength of the magnetic field at a point P on the axis of the circular loop of wire. Axis means imaginary line passing through the center of the loop, and it can be extended on either side to any desired length, either towards right side or towards left side. It can be extended. Now, on this loop, exactly at the two opposite ends of the diameter, if I extend this dotted line, then it becomes a diameter. Okay, I imagine two identical current elements. See, I am saying that circular loop, but here I have written this in the form of oval shape. What does it mean? It means that suppose if the coil is kept like this, look here, the whole plane of the coil is perpendicular to the plane of the board. If it is kept like this, then the figure with respect to this position of the coil should be like this, either the coil or the loop of wire. So if the plane of the loop is perpendicular to the plane of the board, then this should be the figure. It should be represented in oval shape. Suppose if the plane of the loop or the coil is parallel to the plane of the board, then how do you represent that loop or a coil? It should be represented by means of a circle like this. That is one difference. Choose the point P on the axis, then dl, vector dl are the two identical current elements, each of length dl. So if I put arrow, then it represents current element. What is the magnitude of this element means? Only we have to write dl. dl is the magnitude. Okay, without arrow I write or represent it as a magnitude. Let the point P at which magnetic field is to be determined be at a distance r from the midpoint of the element. So K is the midpoint of this element and L is the midpoint of this element. So from ear to ear, this distance is considered as r, but I represented that in the form of vector. What does it mean? That means let the position vector of the point P from the midpoint of this element be r, vector r. Similarly, position vector of the same point P from the midpoint L of this element is once again equal to vector r. Since this point P is on the axis, it is said to be at equidistant, or it is said to be at equal distance from K and L. So that is why I am considering the same position vector r and r. Okay, now what is the radius of this loop? Let capital R be the radius of the loop and O be the center of the loop. What is the distance of the point P from the center of the loop? It is x. See, these are position vector of the point P with respect to the midpoints K and L of the current element, whereas x is the distance of the same point P from the center of the loop. So let us write its description. So dl nothing but current element of the loop. That means small portion of the conductor through which some current flows. Now I can pass the current in any one of the direction, either in this direction, okay, or in the opposite direction. In any one of the direction I can pass the current. So I is the current. So dl is the current element of the circular loop of wire. Okay, then R is the radius of the loop. Then vector R is the position vector of the point P from K and L, which are the midpoints of the current element. Then I is the current flowing through the loop. It may be either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Then x is nothing but distance of the point P from the center O, from the center O of the loop, such that what is OP now? OP equal to x, such that OP equal to x. Now, what is the magnetic field at the point P? Due to this upper current element, we have taken two current elements, one at the top and one at the bottom, exactly at the opposite ends of the diameter. Okay, suppose if I imagine now this itself as the loop, there are too many turns. For time being, assume that there is only one turn of wire. Look at this is small portion and this is small portion. I treat these two small portion as current elements. Similarly, exactly opposite to these two, there is one pair of current element. Exactly similarly, these two forms one more opposite pair of elements, current elements. So this forms one pair of current element, this forms one pair of current element, and this forms another pair of current element. Like that, I can imagine any number of pair of current elements diametrically opposite to each other. For time being, I choose only these two as the current element, upper current element and lower current element. Look here, suppose if I keep the loop like this, then current is flowing like this. What does it mean? At the top, the current flows inwards. That means at this loop, according to this direction. Okay, according to this direction. Look here. So at the bottom, that means at the bottom element, the current comes out like this, whereas at the top element, the current goes inwards like this. So current is perpendicular to the plane of the figure at the top and directed inwards, whereas at the bottom element, current is perpendicular to the plane of the figure once again, but directed outwards. So directed inwards, directed outwards according to this direction of current when you place the loop like this. So first you find out the magnetic field at the point P due to the top current element. I assume this as let us assume this as the top current element and this as the bottom current element. So this will be the axis. Imagine this acts as an axis. So when this acts as an axis, then this forms the point P. Okay, so this is the point P at which field is required. Now, due to the top element, what will be the magnetic field at the point P? Similarly, due to the bottom element, what will be the magnetic field at the point P? So I imagine this as top element and bottom current element. At this point P, field due to this top current element, and at the same point field due to this bottom current element. Let us find out these two, then we can find the total field due to one complete loop of the wire. What is the magnetic field now at P due to the top element? Magnetic field at P due to the top current element is given by dB according to Biot and Savart law. dB equal to mu naught over 4 pi I dl sin theta divided by r square. Which r you are going to consider? Not the capital R, you have to consider small r. Magnitude of the position vector r square, but I write like this, but theta is equal to 90 degree. Why? Since the current element dl and the position vector r are perpendicular to each other. According to this, let us verify now how theta becomes equal to 90 degree. See the top portion, that means the top element, and this line Kp, let us consider this as the top current element. What is this length? From here to here, dl, and this is nothing but the line Kp. Okay, so the element dl and the line, that means position vector r, that is what we have written, vector delta l. This is delta l, sorry dl, this is dl and this is position vector r. Both are perpendicular to each other. Just I turn this, look here, if I turn like this, then this is position vector and this is nothing but length dl. So position vector r and length dl are perpendicular to each other. Similarly, at the bottom, this is nothing but the current element and this is nothing but the line. What is this line? LP. So this is current element of length dl and this is position vector. So once again, look here, these two are mutually perpendicular. Suppose if I turn like this, again you can see that this and as well as this dl and as well as position vector are perpendicular. That means in both the cases, it is found that dl is perpendicular to the position vector. So if that is, if it is perpendicular to position vector, then the angle between this and this angle now turns out to be equal to how much? 90 degree. So this angle turns out to be equal to 90 degree. Here also this angle now turns out to be equal to how much? 90 degree. So therefore, according to the figure, it never looks like 90 degree. But according to the pattern in which I have shown by holding these two, this one and as well as this one, perpendicular, again perpendicular. So if I substitute theta as equal to 90 degree, then what do I get? This becomes now dB equal to mu naught over 4 pi I dl sin theta by, sin theta means sin 90 by r square. So this now becomes dB equal to mu naught over 4 pi I dl by r square. But what is the direction of this magnetic field? The direction of this magnetic field is found to be perpendicular to Kp or perpendicular to the position vector r. It will be like this. Let us write that. So this is dB and it is perpendicular to Kp. How do you find its direction? By making use of right hand clasp rule, we can show that. So the dB due to this current element is perpendicular to Kp and it is directed along PQ as shown in the figure. So we can write the direction: act along PQ perpendicular to Kp. Okay. Similarly, if you find the magnetic field at this point, same point P, due to this bottom element. So from top element, field is already determined and it is found to be equal to this much. Now from the bottom element, what is the bottom current element? Once again it is dl. What will be the field at the point P? It turns out to be same, because the length of the current element remains same, it is dl, and from this point to this point the distance also remains same, it is nothing but r. So current is also same, only thing is current direction is changing. At the top element it moves inwards, whereas at the bottom element it moves outwards. So therefore only field direction will change at the point P due to this current element, but its magnitude remains same as this. So I can write now the strength of the magnetic field at the point P due to this element as dB equal to mu naught over 4 pi I dl by r square, but act along. Okay, let us find out the direction. At this point, field due to this current element act along PS, I write, act along PS perpendicular to LP, okay. So now here what happened means, if I want to find the total field at the point P due to these two fields dB and dB, it's not so easy. Why means these two fields are said to be acting along different lines. If these two fields would have acted along the same line, then very easily you would have added this. That means, suppose if dB is one field, if dB dash is another field, say for example, if both the fields are in the same direction, then what is the net field means? Net field is given by B equal to dB dash plus dB. Okay. If the two fields acts in the opposite direction, say for example one like this dB and another one is dB dash, then the net field is given by B equal to dB minus dB dash. So whichever is greater, we write that field first. So greater minus lesser. Here line of action is same, directions are opposite, that is why we subtracted. Here line of action is once again same, but the direction are also same. Therefore we added this to find the net field. Net field acting at this point. Similarly, net field acting at this point is determined like this. But here at the point P, we cannot add these two dBs. Sorry. So because one dB is acting along this line, another dB is acting along this line. Line of actions are totally different, therefore it's not so easy to add. Then what is the other method to find the total field of these two at the point P? All that we need to do is, we have to resolve these two fields into rectangular components. That means split each of the magnetic field into two mutually perpendicular components so that we can find the total field of these two. Then how to split this? Let us consider like this. Suppose if I consider this as one component, how it is? It is perpendicular to OP, that means axis. Now one more component I consider along the axis like this. Okay. So this is how this field is split into two mutually perpendicular parts like this. Okay. Similarly, I split this field into two mutually perpendicular parts known as rectangular components. Now these two are rectangular. Similarly, for this field, let us write the rectangular components. So one field, as usually what I do means perpendicular to this axis. Okay, and another field all along the axis like this. Okay, now identify which is which is horizontal component and which is vertical. How to identify these two? By choosing the angle or marking the angle. So what's the angle in which I mark? Means suppose if this angle is phi, okay, then this angle will be also equal to phi. Simple high school geometry. Okay, what is the total angle of these two? This and this are mutually perpendicular, remember. So this one and as well as this one are mutually perpendicular. Okay, whereas the angle between this and this, between these two, the angle will be 90 minus phi. So if this angle is 90 minus phi, for this total angle to become 90, what should be this angle? This angle should be equal to phi, because 90 minus phi plus phi means minus phi plus phi cancels, it gives us the total angle of how much? 90 degree. So that is why if this angle is phi, this angle also becomes equal to phi. So simple high school geometry. Same thing holds good for this also. Even for this now, what is the angle? This angle is once again taken as phi. If this is phi, once angle, this angle is equal to phi. When we mark the angle phi with this rectangular component, certainly this becomes horizontal component. Horizontal and vertical component should not be decided based on the figure. If you go according to the figure, this should be treated as horizontal and this should be treated as vertical. So don't choose the horizontal and vertical component based on the figure. It should be selected or chosen mathematically. Mathematically means with whichever component we mark the angle, that component itself should be treated as horizontal. So phi is marked with this, therefore this becomes horizontal. This is not vertical. Of course it becomes vertical according to the figure, which is not correct. According to the figure we should not judge, we should judge mathematically. So this is horizontal component, means horizontal component is always represented by cos function. Therefore I write this as cos phi. What is the component we resolved? We resolved dB. Therefore I write this as dB cos phi. Similarly, when this becomes horizontal, this will become vertical, and for this will be the horizontal because angle is marked with this component. Once again this becomes dB cos phi, horizontal component. Okay, then if this is vertical component, then it is nothing but dB sin phi, and this is also vertical component, dB sin phi. So vertical component is all along the axis, that means it is along the point OP. This is the point P, whereas the horizontal component is perpendicular to OP. OP perpendicular. Along OP the vertical components are present. What happens now? dB cos phi, directions are opposite, magnitude is same. That means the magnitude of dB cos phi and this dB cos phi are equal, opposite to each other. Therefore these two components get cancelled. That means these two components becomes ineffective in producing the magnetic field at the point P. Whereas these two components, vertical components, are along the same direction and also along the same line. Therefore these two components gets added up to produce the magnetic field at the point P. So let us write this. What is this? This is the field at P due to dl, due to bottom current element dl, whereas this is the field due to top current element dl. Okay, this is top and this is bottom. Now resolving dB into resolving each of dB into rectangular components. Okay, rectangular components. It is found that dB cos phi and dB cos phi, that means these two dB cos phi cancel each other, whereas dB sin phi and another dB sin phi, this one and this one, add up. Okay, then if that is the case, then what is the magnetic field at the point P due to one complete loop? Okay, field at P, magnetic field at P due to one complete loop is given by, now I write that as B, total field B, and total field is existing along which axis? Along x-axis, that means all along the axis. Therefore I write this as Bx equal to, I consider like this. Suppose if I imagine one loop, complete loop, to be made up of number of current elements like this. So this forms one pair of element, okay, and this forms another pair of element, and this forms another pair of element. I have taken three pair 1, okay, pair 2 and pair 3. So I can imagine one loop to be made up of number of small current elements, each of length dl. So dl like this. So there will be too many dls. I can imagine. Now according to this figure, how many dls are there? So 1 dl, 2 dl, 3 dl, then 4 dl. So 1 plus 1 2, then plus 1 3, and this is 4th one dl, and this is 5th one, and finally this one is 6th one. Any number you can imagine. If that is the case, what the field at the P due to this one complete loop means, it is given by Bx equal to, instead of adding the field due to this element, pair of element, plus field due to this pair of element, plus field due to this pair of element, instead of adding this dB sin phi plus dB sin phi plus dB sin phi, what I do means I integrate. Integrate means summing up, totaling. So integral of field at the point P due to this vertical component. What is the vertical component? dB sin phi. So dB sin phi. This is how we can find the magnetic field at the point P due to one complete loop, because we know that from each current element at the point P, what is the magnetic field? dB sin phi. If I imagine one loop to be divided into number of small elements like this, due to all this element, what is the field due to this element? dB sin phi, because only dB sin phi exists at the point P, not dB cos phi, it get cancelled. Again field due to this element dB sin phi plus dB sin phi plus dB sin phi, each dl constitutes dB sin phi. So field due to this dB sin phi plus dB sin phi plus dB sin phi, instead of adding for the entire loop, I integrate this. Now all that we need to do is, we have to substitute for dB and we have to find the value for sin phi and simplify. Let us substitute for this. If I substitute for this, what do I get? We know that dB equal to mu naught over 4 pi, because both these dBs are one and the same. Field due to top current element and field due to bottom current element, magnitude wise they are same. Therefore we can substitute dB as equal to mu naught over 4 pi I dl by r square, then into sin phi. So I substituted only for dB as equal to this much. Now if I simplify this further, then we get the required equation. Bx equal to, see, I remove constant terms out of the integration. Mu naught over 4 pi is constant, current is constant, and magnitude of position vector r is also constant. So I remove all this out of the integration sign. So what do we get? Mu naught over 4 pi I divided by r square, and also I write sin phi out of the integration sign. So what is left inside the integral sign? Only dl is left, integral of dl. Now in triangle KOP, consider upper triangle. There are two triangles. If I join this, then there exists one more triangle, bottom triangle. Both these triangles are identical, okay, because angles are also same and this length is also same. If this is 10 degree, this will be also 10 degree, this will be also 10 degree, and finally this also become equal to 10 degree. Simple geometry as I explained. Now let's consider the upper triangle KOP. In this triangle, right angle triangle, this is right angle triangle. What is sin phi? That means sin theta equal to, what is the formula of sin theta in a right angle triangle? Opposite side by hypotenuse. So instead of theta, we have chosen the angle as phi. So in KOP, sin phi means instead of sin theta, I choose sin phi. Opposite, what is the side opposite to this angle? KO, but KO equal to radius r, divided by, what is hypotenuse? Hypotenuse is KP. What is KP equal to? Position vector r. So don't write position vector r itself, write only its magnitude. Its magnitude means only r you have to write, r. Now if I substitute this in this equation, what do we get now? Bx equal to mu naught over 4 pi I by r square. For sin phi, I can substitute now r by r integral of dl. Now to find integral of dl, let's consider once again, this is the loop, circular loop. The circular loop is imagined to be made up of number of small current elements like this, okay. So dl, dl, dl and so on. Integral of dl means total of all dls, that means dl plus dl plus dl plus dl, add all dls. If you add all dls, what do you get? You get the complete length of this circular loop. Complete length of the circular loop means it is nothing but the circumference of the circle, okay. So integral of dl is nothing but complete length of the circle, which is nothing but circumference. So I can write like this, that integral of dl is nothing but circumference means 2 pi r. Which r you have to write? For this circular loop, radius is capital R, not small r. So therefore 2 pi r we have to write. If that's the case, what happens to this equation now? Look at this equation becomes now Bx equal to mu naught over 4 pi, okay, I by r square, I by r square, then r by r, r by r, then integral of dl is nothing but 2 pi r, okay. So now what do we get now? Sorry, we made a mistake. We have to write small r n. Okay. So, r by r, small r is there. Now you multiply and rearrange the terms. Mu naught over 4 pi. Okay. Then 2 pi I. 2 pi I r into r square. Then r square into r. Multiply these two and multiply these two r's, whereas all other terms are rearranged in a group. This becomes now r cube. Now, again in the same triangle KOP, in this triangle, I find the value of r. How do I find? By using Pythagoras theorem. So, in triangle KOP, r square equal to sum of the squares of the other two sides according to Pythagoras theorem. That means r square plus x square. Okay. Then what is r? R equal to r square plus x square whole to the power of half, or square root of r square plus x square. Instead of writing square root, I represented that in the form of the power equal to half. So, if r equal to this much, then cubing on both sides. Cubing on both sides. If you cube on both sides, why should I cube? Because r cube is there, I need to find the value of r cube. Then what do we get? R cube equal to r square plus x square whole to the power of 3 by 2 we get. Now if you substitute this r cube in this equation, what do we get? Now this equation becomes now, let us represent simply this as equation 1. Now therefore equation 1 becomes bx equal to mu naught over 4 pi, then 2 pi I r square. For r cube, what I can substitute? R square plus x square whole to the power of 3 by 2. So this is the expression for the magnetic field at a point P on the axis due to this entire loop, means due to only one round of wire. Sorry. Now, if I want to find the magnetic field at the same point P due to a coil of wire, if I imagine this as the coil consisting of several number of turns, if a coil is kept like this consisting of several number of turns, and at the same point P, what is the magnetic field due to this entire coil means? So we can write that like this. Multiplying this equation by n now, we get the field at the point P due to the entire coil. So field at P due to a coil of n turns, small n turns, is given by Bx equal to mu naught over 4 pi 2 pi, okay, I r square divided by, multiply this by n. So if I multiply this by n, I include n here itself. 2 pi n I r square divided by r square plus x square whole to the power of 3 by 2. So remember, this is the magnetic field at P due to the coil. If n is not there, then this will be the magnetic field at the point P due to what? Due to one loop. So this is the field due to only one loop. No n means it is the field due to loop. If there is n, then it is field certainly due to a coil consisting of n turns. I can express this in vector form. How? Look here, Bx, I write vector. So let us write it vectorially. Bx equal to mu naught over 4 pi 2 pi ni r square divided by r square plus x square whole to the power of 3 by 2. Then this should be multiplied by unit vector I cap to give the direction. Why should I use I cap? Because the resultant field B bx. So this is how the bx is acting. Look here, bx is acting all along the x-axis or all along the axis. So therefore, since it is along x-axis always we make use unit vector I cap. Whereas along y-axis and z-axis we make use of other unit vectors j cap and k cap. So in this case that situation do not arise. So this is the vector representation of the magnetic field. Suppose if I want to simplify this, if I simplify and write this equation, how? This is in the standard form now. Simplifying means cancelling off pi and pi. If I cancel pi and pi, then 2 ones are 2 twos are. What do we get now? We get the expression as bx equal to mu naught divided by 2, then ni r square divided by r square plus x square whole to the power of 3 by 2. So this is for coil. Whereas if it is only a loop, then n will be equal to 1 and this will be the equation, simplified equation for a loop. Okay. So usually if we express the equation along with the constant, then it will be in the standard form, or else we can simplify this further. We can write the same equation like this also. Now remember one point here, whenever current flows through a circular loop or through a circular coil of wire, the field will be always along the axis. The field runs always along the axis. Either it may be towards this side, right side, or it may be towards left side. Okay. So the field may act towards right side or towards left side, but it will be always along the axis. Whether it is along left side or right side, that depends upon the direction of current. Whether current flows in clockwise or in anti-clockwise direction, that decides the direction of the field along the axis. You know that magnetic field at a point on the axis of a circular loop of wire carrying current I is given by the equation Bx. I consider only the magnitude. Bx equal to mu naught over 4 pi 2 pi I r square divided by r square plus x square whole to the power of 3 by 2. This is for a loop, not for a coil, because n is not there here. Now, if I want to find the magnetic field at the center O of the loop itself, then what will be the field? We have found out at this point P, the field is this. What the field at the center itself? So expression for the magnetic field at the center of the circular loop of wire carrying current. At the center means the point P, if it approaches close to O and if the point P merges with O, what happens to X? That means instead of choosing the magnetic field point as P, I choose the magnetic field point as the center of the loop itself. So if this is the point where field is to be determined, then at this point what is X means? X is equal to 0, because P is said to be coinciding with X, or P is said to be coinciding with O. As P approaches close to O, X goes on decreasing. Finally, when P merges with O or coincides with O, then X becomes equal to 0. So at the center O, what is the value of X? X equal to 0. Okay. If X equal to 0, then what happens to this equation now? This equation becomes now Bx equal to mu naught over 4 pi 2 pi I r square divided by r square plus 0. Or else we can write like this, at the center O, if X equal to 0, then r square plus x square can be written as equal to only r square, because x becomes equal to 0. So this way also we can write r square plus 0 equal to r square. So directly here I can write r square. What I have done is I substituted for x as equal to 0. R square plus x square means R square plus 0 equal to R square. So whole thing becomes equal to now R square, but power is there. What is the power? 3 by 2. Now what happens? 2 and 2 get cancelled. These two power get cancelled with each other. Then what is left here? Mu naught over 4 pi, then 2 pi I R square. So square and square got cancelled, but cube is there, divided by R cube. Once again this R square and R cube. So your R square get cancelled. What is left now? Finally, Bx is equal to mu naught over 4 pi, okay, 2 pi, look here, 2 pi I by R, only R is left. So this is the expression for the magnetic field at the center O. Okay, so instead of writing now this x, what I do is I write this as center. Okay, so field at the center, or also I can write this as BO. That means field at the center O of the loop. In that way also I can write. Suppose if you consider the coil, then at the center of the coil itself, look here, at the center means exactly at this point. At the center of the coil itself, what will be the field means? All that I need to do is just I multiply this by N. At the center for the coil of N turns, then field becomes B center equal to mu naught over 4 pi 2 pi, multiply this by N, 2 pi Ni by R. If you want to reduce this further, how? Cancel of pi and pi, 2 ones are 2 twos are. So this will be equal to mu naught by 2, then N into I by R. Okay, so this is for coil. This is for coil. Suppose if it is a loop, then N becomes equal to 1. If N equal to 1, then field at the center will be B center will be equal to mu naught by 2 I by R. So this is for the loop. So we can start from the magnetic field at a point on the axis of a circular loop, and we can find the magnetic field for the same loop at its center, and it turns out to be equal to this, or simplified version of this is equal to this. This is for coil and this is for loop. And we have to understand one thing: as we move away from the coil, either towards right side or towards left side, suppose if this is the coil or the loop, if we move either towards right side or towards left side, what happens to the field? Overall, it means that if we move away from the center of the loop, the magnetic field goes on decreasing. So if you move away from the loop either toward this side or towards this side, if you move, then what happens to the magnetic field? Field decreases. Even this side also, as we move, decreases. Again on this side also field decreases. It means that field is always maximum at the center of the loop or the coil. On either side of the coil or the loop, the field goes on decreasing as the distance increases. We can represent this by means of a simple graph. Look here. So this is nothing but O, and this represents x on either side. From O, x, distance x. Again from O, distance x. Only this is on negative side or left side. At the center O, field is always maximum. Maximum. Let us choose this point as maximum point. As we move toward this side, the field goes on decreasing. So look here. I can represent the decrease of field like this. Again, as we move towards left side of O, the field goes on decreasing again. Understand? So this clearly shows that as we move away, the field decreases. So this is nothing but the magnetic field, and this is the maximum field point, which is nothing but the magnetic field at the center of the loop. So this is one simple graph which shows how the magnetic field varies with the distance as we move from the center of the loop on either side. Look here, we are moving like this. You can find it out graphically. How? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 4 centimeter. Magnetic field, let us say 5 units, 10 units, 15 units, 20 units, maximum 25 units. So at a distance of 1 centimeter, what's the magnetic field? Look here, between 20 and 25. Say for example, I consider that as 23 units. At a distance of 2 centimeter from the center, that means from the center, if you move 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this, even on this side also. So at a distance of 2 centimeter, what will be the magnetic field? So magnetic field is found to be 20. So this is at a distance of 1 centimeter, this is at a distance of 1 centimeter, 23, okay, 2 centimeter distance, 20 units of the field. Then at a distance of 3 centimeter from the center, what is the magnetic field? At a distance of 3 centimeter, it is 15. So this is how the field decreases, both on this side and also on this side. 23 units means 23 Tesla. Tesla is the SI unit. Okay. So 20 units means 20 Tesla, 15 Tesla. So this is how we can understand how the field decreases as we move away from the center of the loop. Thank you.